I've been thinking a lot recently about refocusing what I do on this channel. I mean, I made an update video about 4 months ago saying, I'm going to take a little bit of a break. We'll get back into things in 2024. And I've uploaded, like 6 videos in that time? It's not really where I want things to be. And so something like a month ago, I just put out a poll that said, what do you guys like on this channel? What are you actually here for? I got about 450 responses, and about 50% of people said, I'm here for long series, full end-to-end playthroughs of games. And because a quarter of people did like the throwaway responses on that poll, that means closer to 2/3 of people are here for long, full playthroughs. And that makes total sense to me. That's kind of what I've been doing on this channel. Unintentionally, like all across the time I've been doing that, I pick random games to see through to the end. But over the course of the last year, I did all of Shadows Over Loathing and Fear and Hunger 2 Termina, which is an incomplete series, but that's kind of part of what I'm here to talk about. Starting today, probably at the moment you are watching this video, the next episode of that is uploaded and live, available to watch. There will be daily uploads. It's already recorded, it's already scheduled. There's no ability for me to screw it up at this point. That series will be completed over the next, I think it's like 9 days it takes total to see through to the end. And that's really exciting for me. That's something that I want to focus on. If that's what you guys are excited about, then I've rubber banded this channel in so many different directions over the years that I'm kind of just trying to choose a place to settle out to where we can hang out together in a nice comfortable space and just kind of vibe together. I'm gonna stop trying to chase trends and things because it's just not really where this channel's at. And so I want to do something with it. There's rounding the corner of 50,000 subscribers here. If you haven't watched a video in like 5 years, maybe you should unsubscribe. It's kind of pointless. And maybe it's not for you anymore. I understand that. It's fine. But I think that could be a really fun routine to settle into. I'm probably still going to primarily be the one who chooses what games are played, but I will try to open it up now and again, like polls and things. Here's a list of games I'm interested in. Which one should I prioritize? And I think it could be a really fun era for the channel and probably something I'm not going to put a lot of pressure on. If I miss a couple weeks or whatever, but then I come back and play a game end to end for like 40 episodes, I think that's probably fine. That's like a lot of stuff. Think of it like a season of television. It'll just be like a different mindset from what I've been doing, and I think it'll be more fun. I've pivoted this channel several times over the years, and I've put a lot of pressure on it to succeed. This was my first channel. This is kind of where it all started, so I don't really want it to just like die off. And the first thing I ever did here was Let's Plays. I used to try to put I used to more commonly try to see through games through to the end, but then 20 new games are coming out per day and you're trying to chase the trends and get on top of the new thing sooner than anyone else, and then that means only doing one-offs, and that has its place, and that's part of the change that I'm making here. However long ago, it's like 2 years ago at this point, I started New Graeme Plus. Because of various pivots, that's not what that channel was first called, but that's the name that has stuck now at this point. That was a community-suggested title for it, and the pun still tickles me. I still think it's super funny, so I'm sticking with New Graeme Plus. But what I was doing there was hiring editors to condense down Let's Plays into really much snappier videos overall to try and chase that trend. The popular format on YouTube, as much retention editing as possible, and that's just not my style. I think it can work. I think there's some good videos over there, but it clearly never caught on. The fact that I have whatever it is, I don't know, 50 videos over there, and like not a single one really had like a big overperformance, kind of says to me that if you are not the type of person who wants to make that type of video, and I'm not against it, but the way you approach making the video, I think, is different than just a stream of consciousness, very relaxed, hanging out together version playthrough, and then try and edit that into something snappy and exciting and crazy. I think Honklum and the other editors, really Peanut, they did fantastic jobs accomplishing that, but it's just not really what my style's ever been, and so I don't think it ever really clicked. So what I'm going to do over there now is one-offs. That's where I'm going to be playing new games, 30 to 60 minute previews of the newest videos, or it might not just be the newest games. It could be things that I grew up with, or things that I wish I had played when they came out a few years ago, or old Flash classics, what have you. But it's just going to be variety. Variety is the name of the game over on new Graeme Plus. And I think that's quite fitting for that title. You know, it's new stuff, and that's what you're going to get over there. And here, we're just going to hang out and play like full games. And I'm hoping that it's a lot less common to drop off series. I think people who have been hanging out on this channel for a long time know I try my best to circle back to series and see them through. If it was popular on any level, I really try to see the game through to the end. But there's a lot of abandoned series because, you know, you make it a few hours in and I lose interest, you guys lose interest, and it falls off. But I would really like to dedicatedly set aside a game and be like, I want to play this end to end, and let's do that together. But something that I really value, both part of why I originally got into doing YouTube and also how that built into an indie publishing label with 2 left thumbs, is that I want to spotlight indie games and indie developers. And if I'm choosing, you know, 12-hour games to play through and it takes a month to cover or whatever, that's not leaving room to show off the amazing, exciting new things that developers are putting out there daily. And so on New Graeme Plus, I'm really going to dedicatedly make an effort to do that for 30 days. 30 days of really trying to pick new and exciting games and really play around with my thumbnail crafting and title making and make as big of an effort as I can to grow that channel. Because right now it's teeny tiny. It's like 1,000 subscribers. It's just like, it was a little experiment and I haven't touched it in a little while, and I'd like to come back to it and start a new experiment with it. There's no point starting a new channel again, but I think this one will be more casual. I'll upload when I have things to share, when games excite me, and that's the one where I'm going to try and chase the algorithm a little bit more and, like, you know, try not to be clickbaity, but try to have something to sell a little bit. Try and convince you, here's an exciting new game worth checking out. Whereas this one will probably be more along the lines of, you either just like watching my videos, which I'm very grateful for, or you're interested in a specific video game, and look at that, this guy played it end to end. And that's what this will be more about. Take the pressure off, and I think it'll be a lot of fun for it. A lot more fun. The drop-off in your average YouTube video is absolutely insane. I think people are pretty aware of that at this point. Within like 5 seconds, you've already lost 50% of viewers, and within 30 seconds, you're potentially down by like 60 plus or something. Like, especially in a channel like this, where I kind of like to have that Saturday morning cartoon vibe where I have like a full animated intro and everything. If people haven't been here before and they don't care about that, that is 11 seconds where I'm telling people go do something else. But then once I get going into the video, it's like a slower pace, and I'm not doing that retention editing like I was saying, which if people don't know, that's like quick cuts, zooms all the time, images flashing on the screen, subtitles with multicolors and things, and it's like chaotic, and it's in your face, and it's crazy, and it's effective. It super duper works. It is so much extra work, and just like not something that excites me, and maybe that's me being old or whatever, but that's not something I've ever looked for on YouTube. It just happens to be what became popular. Do you know what is fun and enjoyable for me? When you're like hour 16 into a game, 30 episodes deep, and someone leaves a comment about how they just binged everything and caught up to that point and they can't wait for the next episode. Or it's a video that's like 4 years old and they comment on episode 12 and they're like, I know it's probably a little late, but have you ever thought about doing this? And like, when those pop up in my feed, it's really exciting, and people are always surprised when I reply to it. It's because this channel doesn't get like heaps of engagement, and so when those comments do show up on series that are really special to me, and when someone has clearly gone through the full thing up to that point, that means something to me. And so it's really fun to talk with those people and to engage with that and to play through a full game together. And people have always been super respectful of like not backseating very hard. I've really appreciated how that's been managed across these different games, giving hints, suggestions, but not like telling me how to play. I would love to foster that moving forward. But it makes me think that I really don't want to squander what I have here, and I think I have done so for quite some time. I only just recently learned there are longtime viewers who revisit series, and I don't think people do that with a one-off video. I don't think I would, you know? It's like if a pilot episode of a TV show came out and you loved it and it was great and you can't wait to see what comes next, and it doesn't get picked up for a full series. It ended at the pilot, and it's like, well, I don't really care about the pilot anymore, except for like The Walking Dead or Battlestar Galactica or like Mad Men, those like all-timer pilots or whatever, you know? But like, for the most part, you're not gonna go back to something if it was never finished. I'm well aware of that. The Last Man on Earth, Santa Clarita Diet, I loved those shows, and they were like one season away from being finished, and it makes me so mad that they were never finished. I've never gone back to them and probably never will. And so I have to assume that's the same as how people are feeling here, is that if I play 3 hours of a 6 hour long game, it's kind of like, well, why would I ever watch that again? But it never occurred to me that people would rewatch those series. I don't do that. I don't rewatch videos on YouTube very often. And that's another one of those things where it's like, well, that's really special. That's really cool. And that really makes me think that there's value here. Value that I wasn't even aware I was creating. And like, how wild is that? I also get familiar names, regular faces who show up in new series and to check things out and say hi and, sorry, I haven't watched videos in a few years. And it's like, well, yeah, that's fine. I'm blown away that anyone would watch more than 2 videos on this channel, let alone come back to it years later. I'm not sure how much attention you guys pay to this. Obviously, I'm kind of on the other side of the fence and a little bit need to, or I'm just forced to pay attention to those viewership trends. So if you're starting a series, say Fear and Hunger, for example, because this one kind of exemplifies this really wholly. I played whatever it was, a dozen episodes, and the viewership was fantastic, and then something came up, and I had to put it off for like a week. And then that 13th episode drops, and the viewership is like halved. There were dedicated people who were tuning in daily to check in on that series and to see where it was at. And then that drops off because they think it's just abandoned. And I do another run of episodes and it does pretty well, and maybe it recovers a little bit, but then something comes up and it drops off. And that happens over and over until you just totally tank the viewership on things. Or something I really commonly have done in this channel is try to have multiple things going on at once. I'm playing that main series while also doing one-offs of new upcoming games. But then that means people are checking in daily to see the game they're excited about, and they're only getting it every other day. And eventually that gets frustrating, I think, and they just kind of drop off at some point. And so I don't know. I don't know if I have the time in my schedule available to, like, if I wanted to pick up Crosscode. It's like an 80-hour game. I would be very intimidated. I would only ever pick up something like that if I knew I had like 2 months of a relaxed schedule to really dedicate to that. But that's just like as an example. That'd be like really, really hard for me to tackle. So I want to try and focus on games that are anywhere from a couple hours, maybe upwards of like 10, 20 if I really feel like I have the time. But there are thousands of games I'm interested in that already fit into those boxes. And so I want to try really hard to pick games and not start uploading episodes so I'm already like halfway through it, so I can really give myself some like nice runway. I don't know. It's going to be some figuring out. But at the very least, we're finishing up Fear and Hunger 2 Termina. That's locked in. That's happening. If I did nothing else with this channel, at least I finished that. So yeah, it's a big ramble of a video, pretty typical for how I do things over here. But the big take home is that I'm really just going to focus on full games. The upload schedule is going to be very casual. When I do pick up a game, I'm going to try and really push it in a focused timeline rather than letting it come and go the way I have before. I've never been a fan of that. I know you guys aren't either. And I think the last major thing is I'm going to do a shutdown of the Patreon. I ran it for years, but the more that I've expanded what I do, Let's Plays, edited video essay stuff, talking about film and television, an indie publishing label, it doesn't make sense to have a Patreon. I really appreciate that people want to support me, but it's weird to ask people to support everything I do, especially when one of those things is an indie publishing label. That's just kind of it's messy. It's strange. I don't like where it ended up, and I've never known how to manage that, and so it has fallen off as well, and I don't do anything with it. And I've only ever advertised it as a tip jar, like that I'm not adding some immense extra value or new content over there separate from what I do here. And I just don't like where that ended up. So I think this is kind of my warning here. I'm going to try to wrap it up before May so people don't get charged again. I think I probably just have to set everything to public and free so that I don't lose some of the stuff I have there. I have interviews with developers and things I think are really interesting. Hopefully someday I'll be able to move that over, because it's like written, it's not a video, so that's why. I hope to move it over to like an official website or something, or even just Tumblr, I don't know. But I don't want any of that to be lost. I want to be very careful about that. But I am also turning on channel memberships for different channels. Specifically for this one, for Two Left Thumbs, for Two Left Frames. And so if any of those is specifically of interest to you, then you can give more directly within this nice YouTube ecosystem. And then I can more easily feed things into that, running polls specifically for community members. Which of these games do you want to see me cover next? That sort of thing. And so that's where I'm going to shift that sort of focus. It'll still be on very much a tip jar mentality if you want to give that little extra, if you want to be involved in that extra level, then yeah, I think that would be really cool. It's going to be a bit of an experiment, but I just don't like that the Patreon, whatever, I'm getting $40 from people a month for, in my mind, doing nothing. I know that's probably not how they view it, or else they would have canceled their memberships a long time ago. But I don't have the ability to like promote that in the way that I have ever properly wanted, or to maximize its usefulness. And so I think it's about time I just kind of sunset that side of things. So yeah, that's all the biggest news. New Fear and Hunger episode is available now. You can go check that out. New stuff coming daily. I think I already know the next couple games I want to tackle. 5 years ago, I played Scheming Through the Apocalypse. The sequel to that came out. The first one was only like 2 hours. This new one's only like 2 hours. It's a very small little series. And it's cool that the developers were finally able to finish up the sequel, so I want to revisit that. And then shortly after that, in like May 9th, I think, is when Crow County comes out. And that's from Dim and Dan, the Super Flash Bros from way back in the Newgrounds days. They've done like the Detective Grimoire series more recently. They have really big hit games on Steam. And that one looks so phenomenal. I really do want to check that one out. And then from there, I don't know. I'm just going to go with whatever interests me, I think. Yeah, I'll do a really short video over on New Graeme Plus to address things a little bit more over there and kind of stake out a divide of this new change coming. I think that's everything I wanted to share. You guys are going to have to let me know. Thank you, all of you, who have stuck around through everything, who have shown your support, who have commented on videos and let it be known. That's always appreciated. So thank you so much. I hope to see you again soon.